Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sheryl McCumsey, founder of Pesticide Free Alberta. Welcome back to the show.
Hello, Jim.
Sheryl, a technical question right off the top here. What is chlorpyrifos and why should we be concerned about it?
It is an organophosphate pesticide, which is a class of pesticides. Organochlorines are considered more harmful and more toxic. That would be DDT, which we still see in the environment. Interestingly enough, I saw a result of a woman in Alberta that still had the breakdown products of DDT in her blood today. Organophosphates are actually quite persistent as well in the environment. Chlorpyrifos persists in that it's found in Arctic ice dating back to 1972. And what is also concerning about it is that its breakdown products are also as harmful, or maybe even perhaps more harmful than the original ingredients. So even if a pesticide breaks down, it doesn't mean that you don't want to be concerned about what those breakdown products could be doing. But chlorpyrifos is used for insect control. It's an insecticide. The way it works is it inhibits acetylcholinesterase in the body. So that's how it kills insects, and that's exactly how it's harmful to us. There is no safe exposure to this pesticide. There is currently 2,000 peer-reviewed studies showing its harm, and in the U.S., the Environmental Protection Agency's own science indicates how harmful this is, and that it should be. There was a federal judge that ordered it to be removed immediately. That hasn't happened. And because Canada and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency collaborate, Canadians are also at risk of harm from this, not even knowing where it's being used. Some people are kind of aware of this, but the general public is not. It is used in agriculture still today in Canada. And Edmonton was the only municipality to continue to use it for insect control, and kind of kept that fact from the public, so much so that the mayor didn't even know that it was still being used. But it is used in agriculture still. One of the products being called Lorsban, there's 30 products still registered in Canada. So the only way people can avoid this, basically, is to, again, eat organic and find out whether your golf course is spraying it.
Is that where it's commonly used?
Well, certainly golf courses use a lot of pesticides, and chlorpyrifos is one of them. Not every golf course would, but this is why it's well worth asking exactly what's being used by your municipality and if you're golfing, by your golf course. Because if you're on that golf course, you are going to be exposed to it. It's pretty much guaranteed that it doesn't just go away. It's unfortunate that, you spray a pesticide and it doesn't just miraculously and magically disappear. And of course, your food, again, too, it's kind of hit and miss when you might be exposed to it, but it's one of the predominant crops that it's sprayed on would be corn. It's used in a lot of other things, but corn would be one of the primary crops that it's sprayed on. So, again, if people, especially if a woman is pregnant and concerned about a developing fetus and exposures to these kinds of toxins, I highly recommend eating organic food for anyone. But I believe that eventually this pesticide will be removed and taken off the market, but how many years that might take is concerning for sure.
How do these products end up on the market, and why does it take so long to get rid of them once we know that they're bad for us?
Well, it's generally the problem with the system that we have right now, and I think that's why some Canadians are working on that particular issue. It's not just with pesticides, it's with the pharmaceutical companies as well. We depend on the industry that sells a product to provide the science to register the product. First of all, industry provides the studies used to register products, and then generally long-term studies are not done, if they're ever done. And then we only test the active ingredient on a pesticide. We don't test the whole product. So there's lots of problems with how they're assessed in the first place. And then once they go on the market, it seems that you have to have independent scientists who have the funding to test and look at the harm and prove that there's harm. It's kind of backwards. The whole system is kind of backwards. It's set up that way until the system and the way that we do things changes. People need to be aware of the fact that there is this problem and that it exists.
Does Health Canada have its own scientists who test this stuff out before it goes to market?
Health Canada doesn't do any studies. They don't have a laboratory of their own. They literally are required on the science that's provided to them. And that is really the biggest problem to start with, is that we don't have independent studies being done on products before they go on the market. Some things are not even being tested, which I found really concerning. Take dry shampoo, for example. The first few ingredients of dry shampoo is literally lighter fluid. That's what it is. And I wrote a letter saying I'm kind of concerned about my kid spraying this on her head. And I was told, well, basically the industry kind of runs itself. We don't worry about that. That's the way it is for a lot of products on the market.
They just make it and wait to get sued.
Well, yeah, and then again, people think that hiring a lawyer and suing a company is simple, or that it's easy to do, but it's not. It's very difficult. I mean, for example, the tobacco industry told us that tobacco was harmless for 40 years. We knew long before it was accepted that tobacco has a relationship with lung disease and heart disease both, but it took that long for that to be considered a fact. And
BC started suing the tobacco industry over 10 years ago, and that thing's still before the courts. They have no idea when this thing will be resolved. So even if you sue, you may not get instant gratification here.
Of course, and then you have to consider what the end result of suing is going to be too. Like, the upcoming event in Toronto, for example. There's the lawyers that sued Bayer, which is, Monsanto has been acquired basically by Bayer. Bayer and Monsanto are now one and the same. They sued Bayer for the cancer that this groundskeeper developed in his exposure to Roundup, spraying Roundup on school grounds for a few years. And he's dying of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He's not going to live very long. He's very, very sick. They won the lawsuit, but he's still going to die. So generally they have pursued this because this is affecting a lot of people, whether they're aware of that or not. The World Health Organization has declared this a probable carcinogen. The world's leading oncologists have declared it a probable carcinogen, and it was evident in that lawsuit that Monsanto hid knowledge of links to cancer. It's quite clear, and that's how he won his lawsuit. There's now 9,300 plaintiffs to follow. That's probably the tip of the iceberg. Cancer is really becoming very common in even younger people today. So we have to think about whether the system we have is working and push really hard back on trying to change the way it works.
We'll have more with Sheryl McCumsey right after this.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp., RMO, on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp. is a Canadian-based mineral exploration project generator. The company currently holds multiple property interests in Ontario with joint venture partners and is seeking further joint venture partners for other drill-ready properties in our portfolio. For more information, please visit our website at rmroyalty.com or call me at 604-922-2030.
Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the pink CYDVF, and on Frankfurt's C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're chatting with Sheryl McCumsey. Sheryl, can microbes affect the brain and play a role in diseases?
This is a really fascinating area to me because I used to work in microbiology at the U of A. And it's really a progress of knowledge in this area. It's interesting that when I was really young, we thought that people developed ulcers from worrying too much, basically. And then we realized it was caused by our organism, Heliobacter pylori, which we now identify in the laboratory. This is really kind of recent when you look at the progression of knowledge. And that when you treat this, the issues, the gut problems go away. But this is just with the gut. It's becoming more and more apparent, and new studies are coming out showing that these things that reside in our body, we have 10 times the amount of bacteria in our body than we have cells. Basically, you are more something else than you are you. Really. Very fascinating. And that certain kinds of bacteria are having an impact on the brain. These studies that were written about in the New York Times, very interesting science showing that they've done studies on mice, kind of basically removed all the gut flora from birth in these mice, and then introduced gut flora from animals, or from mice that were having, I guess you could say they have signs of Alzheimer's, and then actually introduced this disease, and then did autopsies to find the plaques were developing in the brain, etc. Anyways, through a series of studies, it's quite clear that the gut flora is impacting the brain, and that we don't know exactly what kinds of bacteria are doing what, but that this is like the leading edge of perhaps ways of treating diseases like Alzheimer's and maybe autism, etc. Very, very interesting. And at first it's so out there, I guess you could say, that people have kind of denied this, but it's becoming more apparent that it's an issue. And I think it's interesting to look at the fact that glyphosate is registered on the patent as an antimicrobial. It lists gut flora on the patent that kills. So when we know that the brain and the gut are connected, we kind of do know that much. We just don't know exactly how or exactly what does what. But certainly this will be an area of study that will reveal probably that glyphosate has much more impact on us in so many ways that we couldn't even imagine.
So a healthy tummy could mean a healthy brain?
Certainly. We know that what we eat affects us. We know that we require certain nutrients in the body, or the brain won't even function properly. We know that if you don't have oxygen, the brain dies within a matter of minutes. We know if we don't have water, we know if we don't have certain nutrients, the brain doesn't function. The gut flora basically helps to provide a lot of those things to our body. Serotonin being one of the feel-good hormones that bacteria are really responsible for in us having in our system. So it is a very complex area, very hard to study. But to say that the gut affects the brain, I think we can say that with assurance now that that's a reality. How and what we do and the way we eat is definitely going to have an impact on how we feel. It's hard to say what you might want to eat to correct what kind of condition in your health, but people see miraculous changes happen to their health when they change their diet. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
What should we be eating more of and eating less of?
Well, Health Canada just put out recommendations around that, which there's going to be a big pushback from both the cattle and the dairy industry that we should eat a lot more vegetables. I think this is good advice. I think that they haven't gone far enough, though, and that my concerns are that if people are going to a vegetarian or vegan diet and they're going to be eating more legumes, they're going to be exposed to more glyphosate, because these are the actual foods that have the highest concentrations of this herbicide. So again, if we're not consuming organic, we are consuming food that's contaminated with pesticides that have an impact on human health.
We'll have more with Sheryl McCumsey right after this.
I'm Greg Johnston, CEO of Carl Data Solutions, an industrial Internet of Things company that provides big data solutions for monitoring critical infrastructure. Carl Data offers machine learning and predictive analytics features through our cloud-based applications to deliver key asset-saving operational insights from massive amounts of data. Carl Data trades on the CSE symbol CRL and the pink symbol CDTAF. For more details on Carl Data, please visit carlsolutions.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sheryl McCumsey. There's a glyphosate event in Toronto this evening. What are you hearing about it, and why should we be so concerned about that particular chemical?
Well, it is the most widely used pesticide, pesticides being including herbicides, and glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup, which is used by farmers across Canada. We've increased pesticides in Canada by 40% in the last 5 years, and most of that is glyphosate. So besides being considered a probable carcinogen by the World Health Organization and an antimicrobial that could impact the gut flora of human beings and any animal, actually, that has gut flora. The lawsuit that happened in the U.S., the lawyers are coming up to Canada to speak at an event in Toronto this evening and discuss what happened in that courtroom and perhaps how this influences what happens in Canada. We're certainly connected to what happens in the U.S. in a very profound way. So it should interest a lot of Canadians that this is going on, and it will be available to view after the event happens, probably sometime tomorrow.
What can people do if they're concerned about this, and how can they get the government's attention?
Well, a lot of people got together and asked Canada to review this pesticide, but that didn't really happen. And this is the concern, that the science that was used to register this product is literally faulty. So I think Canadians, of course, considering what we're consuming ourselves on a daily basis, is trying to eat as much organic or local food that's produced without pesticides as possible. But also to try to influence government and your farmer even to transition away from this. And I think that the more collaboration we get across Canada, the better chances we have of changing the system that will suit farmers, consumers, and Canadians in general in a better fashion.
So, with these chemicals, are farmers told by the chemical companies, you absolutely have to use this stuff or productivity is going to go down. You're going to lose money.
Well, certainly they're marketed to very aggressively. It's really interesting that knowing that glyphosate is patented as an antimicrobial, that Monsanto, which is now Bayer, has produced probiotics for the soil and called them revolutionary. Well, they're not really revolutionary because cow manure, animal manure, has been used for a long time. Those are really probiotics in a way, you could say, for the soil. There's other things that certainly we could consider in the same context. But there's nothing revolutionary about having microbes in the soil. But this is just another thing that they will market to farmers as they see, initially you will see an increase in yield. But over the long term, you'll have a less resilient system, and you will have a decrease in yield. It's not one that's built to last. It's kind of like taking a drug. You might get a good feeling from it that kind of wears off very quickly and doesn't really give you what you really need. So really, in having visited some farmers who talk about, instead of growing food, they grow healthy soil, the focus of growing healthy soil is where the focus should be. This is where we're losing healthy soil around the globe in many different ways. But one of them is the chemical-intensive system is damaging to that soil and to the environment that we need to sustain agriculture.
Is it true we're losing about 1% of our topsoil every year?
Actually, I think it's higher than that. And of course, this is again for different reasons. There's multiple reasons. If you look at, like for example, climate change is certainly a concern, and southern Alberta saw some serious drought this year. If you have lack of organic material in your soil, and you're putting more and more chemicals into that soil, you're going to end up with dirt instead of soil. Like, it's just not going to be very healthy. And then when you get a lot of rain, it's not going to penetrate that soil or that dirt. It's just going to run off. So you're going to lose more from a system that doesn't have organic material in it. There's just no spaces in there to take up that rain. So you're more prone to flooding, and you're more prone to drought because you don't have organic material to hold water either. So there's multiple reasons for why we lose topsoil, and we have to think about growing our food in a different aspect of thinking about protecting the soil.
Sheryl, if people want more information about the subjects we've talked about today, where can they go?
Well, right now I'd have to say that, we are still in the process of developing things like a web page and stuff like that. We're a ways from that yet. So there are several groups in Canada that have information on them. If you want, it depends on what you're looking for, but Environmental Defense, Environmental Working Group, even the Canadian Law Center has information about the lawsuit that I've been talking about and some of the lawyers involved in issues around pesticides. The Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment has also been discussing some of this. There's, just some of the organic groups in each province that try to further this system that is less dependent on any kind of inputs like this. That's where I would look for information.
Sheryl, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you, Jim.
My guest has been Sheryl McCumsey, founder of Pesticide Free Alberta. Their website, pesticidefreealberta.org. You're listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. Questions for our guests or for the show, can be sent to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.